introduce yourselves and give a little synopsis of what you do, and then we'll take it to questions.
I'm Andy Price. I'm the illustrator for My Little Pony comics from IDW.
Katie Cook, the writer of many of the IDW My Little Pony Friendship's Magic comics.
And I'm Heather Breckel. I'm the colorist on issues 1 through 12 and the Applejack and Rarity Micros on the IDW My Little Pony comic.
Yes.
Alright, so this was going to be for Heather originally, but I've learned in the last hour that this is applicable to all three of you. So, I've got 2 kittens I recently brought home, and they eat a lot. Have you guys ever toilet trained your cats? And if so, any advice?
Like for an actual toilet?
Yes.
You, sir, are weird.
He's brave.
I just do the litter box.
You know, cats are great, and you know, there's no children in this room, so I don't feel bad swearing in this room. Cats shit in a box. They are naturally programmed to do so, and it takes very little training to give them that box. So if you would like to spend 8 months of your life toilet training your cat for the sake of a YouTube video,
No, I'd like to toilet train them to not spend the next 12 years scooping their crap up for them.
but it is part of cat ownership. It's a delight.
Yeah, I love doing it. It's my favorite.
And your cat does it for you as a gift.
I love the dust from the litter on everything. I swear to God. Cat litter dust in unopened cans of peaches and
It's like, it's good for your skin.
And the whole point of having a cat is that when people walk into your home, they know you have one because of the smell.
Now, there are ways to do that. I would ask your vet.
So I would say that if you want to do that, you are a brave man. But I do not have experience because I would have no patience for that.
I'm too lazy. It's like, it's not a big deal to like clean 2 litter boxes every other day.
My cats would have no patience for that. It makes a lot of noise. I'm not going to sit on that.
They usually get water everywhere, like splashing it around, because they will go in there. And mine like to drink from the toilet, so I always have to make sure that at all times.
My wife is a vet tech. I can talk about cat litter all day. Let's get on to something else.
Okay.
Poop is great.
Yay,
Everybody poops.
Equestria Daily. Yay, boo.
Yes.
I have a question that is not about cats.
Can we skip it?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Next question.
This is not what we're talking about.
I just wondered if you could explain, like, are you consciously thinking about differentiating the comics, or is that more like Hasbro's concern, or do you feel like you're a continuation of the TV series, or are you?
I think that we tie into it. You know, we at least try and think of where in the TV show our stories fit, where within the continuity are they going to fit. So, you know, I try and write, you know, the comics that I do being the Return of Chrysalis art, the Rarity Micro, the Big Mac art, and the upcoming Shining Armor Cadence. I try and make them for the show. I try and make sure that they fit with the show. Because I think that I am doing a disservice to people that really enjoy the show if they don't fit within the continuity of everything. I don't know about any other of the writers, but I really try and make it fit like puzzle pieces. It's like, and now the Return of Chrysalis happens right after this happens, and then this can be here, and this can be here. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's actually a great concern for us, that we're kind of militant about how does this fit? Let's not contradict this. Okay, even though people don't like that they said this on the show, they said it on the show, so it goes, you know. It's a big deal to us to make sure that it fits with the show. And quite frankly, it's kind of a concern of Hasbro's too, so.
But is there any way that you can add to the continuity, or can you just?
Well, I think that what we do does add to the continuity. It's, you know, the fact that we gave Chrysalis more personality and more of a story and a continuation, that adds to the continuity. The fact that we made hippies adds to the continuity.
People
Doing
flipped
some
out.
world building.
People flipped out just over the simple fact that the changelings spoke.
Yeah.
And like, well, just because you didn't seem to speak doesn't mean that they don't.
And then issues 11 and 12 is the backstory of Shining Armor and Cadence, and that's world building, and that's how they met, and that's going to be the canon story of how they got together as a couple. And it's actually going to make me like Shining Armor a lot more.
Yeah,
'Cause I think he's one note right now as his show. He's just very flat. So it's, you know, being able to give a character from the background a little bit more depth and stuff. And now that's kind of going to be considered more of his personality and how he is. So
So that would actually be the backstory then? It wouldn't be like Hasbro coming and saying, no, this is...
Hasbro said it's fun, so
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be the backstory?
Every step of the way that we do, from when Katie comes up with the concept, that goes to Hasbro. She finishes the script, it goes to Hasbro. It comes to me for pencils, Hasbro, inks, Hasbro, colors, Hasbro.
Hasbro has its hands in it every step of the way. And they'll let me know if they don't like it, and they let me know if they do like it.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, they always let us know right away if something's wrong.
Believe
Like,
me,
even
they
if
let
it's
you
like
know.
something like I miscolored something, they're like, hey, fix that.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
I mean, even coming down to like the colors, we're very strict about, okay, you know, Heather's got a color guide, official color guide, and we've got official model sheets and everything else like that, so we make sure that we're the little sister to the show. You know, we are in the same world.
we're the Luna.
We're the Luna, that's
Luna.
fine with me.
We're best
Luna's
buddy
best
then.
buddy. So,
Then following up on that, do you have plans to eventually, not a when, but eventually integrate the comics into the season 4 storyline, basically make the wings leap, so to speak?
I think we have to eventually. I mean, Twilight as an alicorn is now part of Equestria. I mean, we can't ignore that. And I personally love the fact that she's an alicorn now. I have a daughter, and my daughter now has a role model who is a princess because she earned it by being smart and loyal and dedicated. She didn't marry into the title. She wasn't born into the title. And that's what I think a lot of people are forgetting when they're like, oh, god damn it, she has wings and this is stupid. You know,
Change is wrong.
change is bad, get off my lawn.
uphill,
No,
both ways.
it's a character growing as a character. You know, and it's so funny whenever because people ask me all the time, well, what about Twilight Alicorn? Are you gonna put her in? Because I hate it. And if you have a friend, and that friend has something amazing happen to her in her life, let's say she gets a full scholarship to Harvard, do you stand on Harvard's campus going, I don't like that my friend goes here, this is dumb, she should go to community college with me? No, you'd get tased.
Probably by your friend.
Yeah. So why don't we just sit back and be happy for our friend Twilight Sparkle, who just got accepted to Harvard and a full scholarship, aka
Right.
got to be a princess, and see what happens before we all go, the fuck! God damn it! I am done! Because that's what everything is right now. It's like, I hate this. No, I love it. It's new, it's different, it's giving us a new thing for season 4 to play off of. And what the hell is wrong with that? The only time that is wrong is when there are bears on Lost.
But then have you started planning for a deliberate time for when you're going to do that, or is that kind of just when it's
I
right?
feel like it.
Or Hasbro wants us to.
That's the kind of thing we can't exactly reveal.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we don't know.
All right, this is kind of a big picture type of question, but your guys' comics have kind of exploded onto the comic scene right now, which had previously been dominated by grim, gritty, dark superheroes. Do you think, you know, the popularity of these children's cartoon ponies is going to change at all what we see in the comic book industry?
You know,
Yeah.
to a degree, I think so.
Yeah.
Because I learned to read on comic books. I learned to reading old Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil Batman and Carmine Infantino and such like that. And the comic community has gotten as big as it has, you know, Thor in the movie theaters and Batman on your sippy cup and everything else like that, because the generation that is in power now grew up with these guys. The nerds are in charge, finally. But, yeah, the grim dark that has so been prevalent in comics, people are about tired of it. You know, these are funny books, guys. It's time to have fun. And it's been a difficult trip for all ages comics. All ages comics aren't around the way they used to, but they're starting to come back. And I think My Little Pony is gonna help really integrate that. We meet a lot of people that say, I've never picked up a comic book before, and I got it because I'm a fan of the show. We're also hearing people say, I've never watched the show, but I'm a comic reader and I picked this up, so now I'm watching the show. So we've got a lot of, you know, cross-action going here, which is phenomenal. But we're getting all kinds of attention because we are an all-ages book.
That's doing well.
Yeah.
And right now, My Little Pony and Adventure Time are two best-selling titles that are all ages in an era where Marvel and DC are saying, well, all ages comics don't sell. So they get rid of the Johnny DC titles. They're not doing any Marvel
Right.
Kids titles. You know, I'm a parent, and I know most of you are like, should they let her have children? Oh my God. But I don't have stuff out there that I'm comfortable giving my kids. I
You can't give Batman
Yeah.
to a kid.
I can't
No,
give
not
Batman to
now.
my daughter, who is named after a Batman character. And that sucks. But now parents are going into stores because the people that buy comics now that grew up with comics have kids. And now they have something that they can now give a kid. You know, there's, you know, Archaea is doing a lot of all ages titles. It's most of the smaller publishers that put out all ages stuff.
Yeah.
And now we get so many little kids that come up with their pony comics and they're tattered and the covers are falling off and their pages are ripped and there's stuff scribbled on them and it's perfect and amazing. It's like, can you sign my comic? It's
And-
not the person that with the pristine copy and the,
Right.
like in the acetate. You just sign the outside of it. It's like, no, I want to see that it's been read. And kids,
You know, they come up
Love
with this, can you sign my comic? And to me, that's the best thing in the world. That's what a comic
It's
book, because it means she
love.
read it and she likes it. And these guys that come up with them sealed in plastic that are gonna survive the cockroaches. What fun is that?
you're not
You
reading
know?
it.
Yeah.
People have had to sign the bag that the comic is in this weekend. And I was looking at it going, oh my God, what's wrong
What
with
is
you?
that? It's like,
You know,
I
we're,
don't want to take it out.
like she said,
Ah.
you know, her daughter is named after a Batman character. I celebrate Batman's birthday. You know, it's a big deal in our house. We're that serious about comics and the comic industry. So we, you know, we're not just in this to make a paycheck, we're in it because we're invested in it. We watchdog what we do.
Yeah,
So-
we are comic people, we are comic makers, you know, both, I know Andy and I, and probably you have been fans of
Yeah.
comics since we were kids, and there's nothing else I've wanted to do with my life besides make cartoons.
That's like, it's not like we get paid tons of money, so it's like, it's really, I
Yeah,
tell
you kinda
people,
have to love it,
if
Yeah.
they, if you
otherwise we
don't-
should have been doctors.
If you don't love what you're doing, if you aren't passionate about comics, don't go into it, because it is
Yeah.
a lot of hard work, it's extremely difficult to get into.
For so
And
little
it's-
pay.
And you don't get health benefits, you don't get like
You
a
marry
401k.
someone with health benefits.
Yes, I consider like
Fantastic.
marrying
That's my
someone.
biggest advice,
And
marry someone with dental.
so, I mean, we do it because we love it, and I mean, like, on the topic, like, I mean, IDW recently bought like a bunch of rights to a bunch of Cartoon Network shows, so we're gonna see Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, we're seeing all sorts of like new all-age titles, and that's amazing because, like they said, I mean, I grew up on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic, that was like very near and dear to my heart, and it's still going, and it's like, we want kids to love comics because it's gonna keep us employed, cause
Yeah.
once, if all the adults die, like, and there's no
In a
one,
horrible
no
accident.
new audience,
Mhm.
like, we need like new readers, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, that's why the comic industry was in a bad shape for a while, because it was just the same people, like, buying the same stuff, it's like, it's getting even more important for like women to like get into comics and stuff, because we need to expand our audience and make sure that people are buying this stuff, so we
That
can
was,
keep comics going.
That was my kind of follow-up question to that, is do you think this is going to bring more women into the comic, or into
Well,
comic book stores?
I think that, it is a myth that women don't like comics. And it's a stupid one, because, you know, I've been doing conventions for 10 years, Andy's been doing them for way longer than that, because he's old.
I knew that was coming.
And I always see women fans. I always see women creators. Women creators are more prominent in the indie scene. You don't see a lot of women creators at Marvel and DC, but you see them at Image and IDW and Archaea and things like that. But we're there, we're loud, we will complain about Deadpool just as loudly as anybody else. And, you know, you see a lot more, with Doctor Who, you see a lot more women for some reason. But,
Well, that's because of Slash, probably.
On that note, next question.
why would we put there? Oh, and she just said it, but I read, let's just leave it at that.
I'm joking.
But no,
I
it's,
look at Tumblr.
no, there are women in this field as creators and writers, and there's women fans, and they're there, and they're awesome, and boys are gross.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, if you don't believe women read comics, go to New York Comic Con as a fan and stand in line to the women's bathroom. And then you will know.
As a pregnant woman, go stand in the line.
And like even recently, like we just now got the first female artist to draw Batman. That was Becky Cloonan, who's amazing. You all need to check out Becky Cloonan. And like even look at the My Little Pony comics staff.
Bobby's
We're-
very effeminate.
It's mostly women. It's
I didn't
like
say
me,
that. I'm
Katie,
kidding, I'm
Amy
kidding, I'm
Memberson, Brenda Hickey, Heather Milford,
Yeah,
and
I'm one of the few guys around.
that's like
Yeah.
Tony and Tom, Tom Anderson and Ben Bates, I
Ben
think.
Bates.
Are- So we have lots of girls, and I mean IDW and like you said, like Image, like employ like a lot of girls. One of the biggest comics out right now is Saga, which has a female artist, Fiona Staples, who is
Staples.
amazing.
and that comic is so, does not seem like it's done by a woman.
Oh yeah, well I
Oh
mean,
god.
if you look at the style, it's like if you look at comics, you can kind of tell like if who has like a more like feminine style, who has a more masculine. If you look at like Paul Pope versus Becky Cloonan, they both have like a looser ink style, but it's like Paul's like style is more aggressive, whereas like Becky's is more detailed and
Very
like
delicate
has like
hand
a
to
more
it.
feminine touch.
And if you go back to the, we talk about independent comics, usually we're referring to IDW and Dark Horse and just smaller companies, but you go back to true indie comics, back in the days of Robert Crumb, and some of the biggest successes that came out of it came from women.
Love and
Elfquest,
Rockets.
Yeah.
Love and Rockets,
Colleen
well,
Doran.
yeah, Colleen Doran, Omaha the Cat Dancer was written by a woman. These true underground comics that became franchises. And it was because at the time, DC and Marvel were like, nah, this is the boys' club. You girls can go work in the secretary pool. And girls muscled their way in, like, we can draw just as well as you, we can write just as well as you. And now the industry is
Right,
non-gender.
ladies.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's like, I mean, I feel like it's like a strictly like American thing. Look at France, it's like, look at Japan especially, like female like comic artists are like huge. It's like the highest paid person in Japan like is Rumiko Takahashi, who did Rama Half, Inuyasha, Mason Ikoku. And I mean, you also have like the people that did like Sailor Moon, like Naoko Takeuchi and stuff, and like one of the really classical
Sounds like she's saying
artists.
a menu to me.
Yeah, one of the classic artists, like one of the biggest ones that was like really influenced on the whole like shoujo genre was like Ryoko Ikeda. I'm butchering all these names, but did like Rosa Versailles and stuff. And I mean, it's just weird to me because like I'm used to like reading comics from other countries. It's like both like France and Japan are really big on like female comic artists. So it's always been weird to me that like comics in America has always been like seen as like a thing for guys.
You
All right.
literally were saying the sushi menu to me.
Yeah.
I do not know what it's.
Let's get back into the ponies here.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question kind of about the industry for this one. So at one point, graphic novels and little comic books, they were considered this thing for kids, and over time it's become more accepted into the mainstream. But as of recently, a lot of print industries have been having problems adapting to kind of like the changing economic climate where you've got virtualization and we've got, I know that a lot of the Brony comics that are out here even being sold for like limited editions in the vendor hall are all available on Tumblr and such. So how are you guys hoping to like possibly, well, I guess the idea is My Little Pony is kind of mixed mediums with both television and internet and all sorts of other things, and
Saying
now it's
how do we
branching
compete
in.
with digital?
Yeah, how do you actually? I don't think you would probably compete with it. I would assume you would probably try and actually integrate
We
it.
do,
somehow.
and the comics are available digitally, and the best that we can do is when we see people posting the entire comic online going, why would you spend $4? You can read it free here. Cause that hurts us. If we don't see any income from the books, IDW will stop making it.
Yeah.
So we basically, go online and say, please just buy a copy.
Yeah.
Would it hurt you to buy a copy if you like it? Or if you read it online for free and you like it, for the love of God, support it.
Yes, because,
No.
it's great that you wanna read it, but if you don't buy it, there's not gonna be anything to
Yeah,
read.
I hope that they read it, I hope they enjoy it, and I hope they love it.
Yeah.
But if you like it, you spend some money on it, because that's the only way to keep it going.
The industry is, we have not decided as an industry how to deal with the digital age
Yeah,
yet.
that's across the board.
Digital comics have actually been around longer than people think, but they haven't completely found their audience yet. So DC, Marvel, all that, they're still experimenting on how to approach the digital age. DC and Marvel both are starting to do digital-only titles.
Yep.
You can only get it if you buy it digitally.
That's a small goal for these.
But to give you an idea of how that's going, it has become, some of these books are, okay, we're gonna do this for digital only. You know what? The digital audience isn't quite there yet. Print them. They've already announced that they're going to print. People still want a comic book in their hand, so.
It's a different feel to have that book in your hand other than reading it on your iPad. I think Marvel is doing some great things right now, because Marvel has a digital subscription that's almost like Netflix for comics, for all their older stuff, where you can download 6 of them at a time, and then basically return them, and then get another grouping of them. It's how I finally read Guardians of the Galaxy, and realized that Groot is great. But no, it's something that we as an industry are still learning and still trying to figure out what to do, and combating piracy is basically just us going online going, please buy a copy.
Yeah, like, we
It's a
can't
very,
fight them.
it's a weak
because we'll
voice,
get
we
in
can't,
trouble.
we,
All we can do
People
is
like
say,
us.
please don't do this, and
or if you do, send $4 out there, digitally if you like it. And I mean,
Yeah.
all we can do is ask, we can't fight it, we can't
Yeah.
bitch about it, because it's part of the culture now, it's part of the internet, so.
And I don't know how they do it, but issues, I think it was 6 and 7 were on the internet
Before they were released.
before they
They were-
hit
they were-
America.
They were camera ones too.
Yeah, like
That's what I
camera
saw
phones.
floated,
So
floating
it was
around.
one of
That
those,
made
is
me
there
mad.
a brony at the printing press in
I was like, buy a
Asia?
scanner,
Or-
dude.
Could you-
We have
What was the
spies
review you read
everywhere.
for issue 9 at San Diego?
Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna tell you guys my favorite review of a book I've ever read. It was for issue 9, and we read it basically day 2 of San Diego Comic-Con, when the book had just been in its preview at San Diego. They did a very limited release of number 9. And he was like, I liked it, it was really funny, and he went on about some stuff. He said, my only complaint is that the photos of the copy I read online were really dark.
Oh.
If somebody could put up some better scans, I'll like it more. And it was like, God damn it! And we were in a restaurant in San Diego, and it was like, Andy and my husband were talking, and I was like, wait a minute, I have to read this. So I just read out this review. It's like,
Yeah.
but my complaint,
My complaint is that this is too blurry.
this is too blurry.
If you want to write to complain about it, if you're getting it for free, you forfeit the right to complain about anything.
And the guy's photos that he leaked online are too blurry. It's hard. But that's why when people are asking when we signed issue 9 right now, because they have an exclusive cover here at the show, and it's like, yeah, you'll really like it, except it's really dark and blurry. And of course everyone stares at me and it's like, yeah, you didn't get a picture of
It's always like a bummer to me when I go to like a big site like Equestria Daily or like Reddit and look at like the
The
MLP
comments.
comic discussion and second comment, where can I download this? Or here is our group's release of issue 9.
Here it is
We
up on
scanned
Imager.
it. It's like, don't act like you did anything. This is not your release. You just bought a scanner and spent
And-
10 seconds to scan.
All right, to get really pissy, Doesn't that kind of go against the whole idea of the show
Yes.
and what it teaches?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a word.
I love the show. Let's steal it.
Just to follow that a little bit, and I mean, you're obviously right about, you know, you're drawing the comic, we want your product, we should give you, like, you know, no worry. But the Brony fandom popped up in a large part because of online piracy of the initial
That's
show.
what we're saying,
Yeah,
is
do you
if
think that makes
see
it more difficult than usual?
Well,
That
no, that's why we're saying if you read it and you like it after you've
Right,
heard
yeah,
it, for the
definitely.
love of God, spend $4, because it's
Yeah.
$4.
You know, I hear
It's a
the
latte.
excuse of, well, I can't get it. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Comicsology is worldwide.
Any comic shop, it's now in Barnes and Noble. You can download it onto your iPad. You can get it. If you'll get out of your basement.
Yeah.
It's like,
Go get it.
Even if like your friends just letting you borrow it, that's cool. It's like, I mean,
that's fine.
personally, it's like, I mean, I was used to like scanlations, fan subs and stuff, and I mean, I don't hate people for pirating. I understand. I remember being a poor college student. I mean, I'm not gonna knock anyone for doing it. It's like everyone on the planet is
I
pirating
get it, and
before.
it does,
And-
let's be honest, it does help to expand the fandom.
Yeah.
It's like it has
However,
its benefits.
It's the people that say, well, why should I buy it?
I already read it.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, and I can't wait for the next issue, because that was great.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and I won't buy that one either. Those are the guys, so.
Yeah, it's like we don't hate you if you pirate. I mean, for me, my concern is I just don't want to see you like advertise like links and stuff. It's like just do it the shady way. Just do it
Right.
BitTorrent. Out of sight, out of mind.
but just know that overall, it's gonna hurt the creative team in the long run, because, you know, after we get our one paycheck when we do it, we don't see any royalties, we don't see any back-end stuff off this. And it's not, you're not taking money out of our pocket, you're hurting the book because they won't let us make another one.
Right.
And that's where we get into the, you know, if everybody pirates it and it's still a good product and people love it, but their sales aren't there to support another book, and then everybody complains, they canceled the book I like.
And it's the same thing with the show and the toys. This franchise is only here as long as there is product to support it. Let's be honest, as much as we love this franchise, it's here for a profit.
Mhm.
This is a product. And if Hasbro says, okay, the sales are no longer coming in, the viewership is no longer coming in, kill it. Because now we're losing money.
Like the bronies in general are very good about supporting it. We do
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. I mean,
Yeah, it's
you
great.
guys are wearing so many My Little Pony shirts and stuff. You're totally supporting the product. You guys are awesome. Like you don't see that in a lot of fandoms. Like
Mhm.
you'll see like a lot of people just torn. I mean, I think like the best example of like piracy and stuff is Game of Thrones is like the most heavily pirated show like in the world.
Yeah, finally
But
dethroned
it
Dexter.
breaks records on Blu-rays. So, I mean, I understand HBO is like a pain to buy, but you know, like people pirate it, but they're buying it afterwards, and those are the people we love. Even if
That's
if you
what we
pirate,
wanna
that's
see.
cool.
Yeah.
But as long as you support it afterwards, you're cool.
But
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin has big pockets full of money.
He owns a movie theater.
He owns an island,
Yeah.
an island full of graves. He's like, he's like all the characters in the game
Oh, you like that one in the Lannisters?
dead.
Kill him in next book.
Yeah.
So,
Next question.
Well, maybe if I can change the subject a bit, I wondered a bit about your like working relationship, because I know you, Katie Cook, you're also a comics, you're also an artist,
Mhm.
but you're only a writer from My Little Pony, right?
Right.
So how does
no.
You
You
don't
do art
write
for My
anything.
Little Pony.
I do art for My Little Pony.
Oh,
I've done
you
some
do?
covers and I do the backup stories in the back, which are both loved and hated because of what I did to Hayseed.
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 But I wonder, like, when you are writing for Andy,
Whatever I would say, if it was a script that I was drawing, I would say, well, I'm not gonna do that because that's too complicated.
yeah,
But if I don't have to draw it,
yeah.
then I can make Andy do it. And that's when you get things like MC Escher stair rooms and 2-page spreads and
She secretly hates me.
draw
That's what
a
she said.
full splash page of a Rube Goldberg device that makes flax and wheat's products. Please be complicated. So basically, I'm a dick.
I
And
can,
that's-
I can vouch for that.
And that's, and then whenever Andy sends me a text, it's like, why are you doing this to me? It's like, because I can.
But it is actually, a really nice thing with Katie being, Katie is an artist first. Writing is actually kind of a new branch for her.
Yeah, I don't do this normally.
So
Pretty well
when
so
she
far.
writes a script, she's writing it visually. And everybody in the comics industry writes their scripts differently. Alan Moore's writes his like a novel, and the artist basically has to decipher how to draw it.
The madman scrawl.
Yeah.
of his panel descriptions.
But Katie's work is very, very visual, so it makes it a lot easier on me for breaking down the panels and such like that. So, I get a better idea of flow. So it's a better situation than a lot of comic writers out there.
You mentioned earlier that at the previous panel that basically the pony fandom to you has a lot of similarities with the Star Trek fandom when it was first coming into existence. Do you feel that there's potentially, since I'd say both shows kind of have that, for the 1960s, Star Trek was an extremely forward-thinking show. That with the whole crew that was completely or largely interracial, the interracial kiss, so on and so forth. Do you think that that commonality between the two, where Pony does the same thing, is a part of why that explosion is
I think
happening?
it's a large part. With Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's idea was, it wasn't so much, I want to do a science fiction show, it was, I'm going to do morality plays, but I'm going to set them in space, because that setting makes people look at it. Oh, that's interesting. And, suck them in. They were moral stories that just happened to take place on a spaceship. With My Little Pony, it's kind of the same way. They are little morality plays. There are little lessons. But I think one of the reasons why My Little Pony has been so successful is that never in teaching that lesson, never in teaching these morals, do they ever speak down to the children. Their core audience, the fandom and everything else, our core audience is still 6 to 8 year old girls, but they never speak down to them. And I think that is one of the things that is a great appeal with the adults, is that, it's written on a generic audience level, not just for little kids. Also, there's the fact that a lot of love was brought into the project when Lauren Faust came on board, because she grew up with My Little Pony. So it was a nostalgic thing for her. We want you to take this franchise and dust it off. I love Little Pony. I grew up with My Little Pony. So she was putting herself into the project. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to make a product, we're going to make a kiddie show. So it was a very important thing to her. And the same thing with a lot of the staff that grew up. And it's the same way across the board, not just My Little Pony, but like I said, people of that age are coming into power now. So things that are nostalgic are becoming very big and very integral into our culture. Batman and Batman and Superman are modern day King Arthurs.
Yeah, it's, My Little Pony is an all ages show. There's a lot of love in the writing to make it accessible for kids and adults, and that's why I think the comic works. It's why I think a lot of shows work. It's not watching Yo Gabba Gabba, which I've seen a lot of. I have at home. Or it's like your lesson is to wash your hands after you eat. And I mean, people that when they think of a kid's show or a kid's comic think that there's got to be that Dick and Jane aspect of it, and that's not what kids want. It's not what the parents want. And it's very successful in the fact that it has so many layers that it works on. Because my daughter really likes My Little Pony on way different levels than I enjoy My Little Pony. Because I know what Benny Hill is, and I know what Diamond Dogs are, and things like that. And my kid does not know that. She should.
She will.
She will. But that shows to me excellent writing. and excellent broad spectrum appeal.
Yeah, like I said in the panel, the first time you watch an episode, you're like, okay, show me another one, show me another one. And my wife was like that. She started watching it before I did. And she watched an episode, she's, well, that's cute, I'll watch one more. And they had a parody of Benny Hill's Yakety Sax. And she's like, that's funny, I'm gonna watch another one. And the next one she watched was Dog and Pony Show by Amy Keating Rogers, which the whole episode is a veiled David Bowie reference. And she's like, brilliant!
Win!
David
that was
Bowie's
it.
instant win.
Always.
And then she dragged me, sat me down, watched this, and hey, that's smart. And that's part of it, is the show is smart. It's not just pretty, it's not just funny, it's intelligent. So I think that's one reason for the success.
Yes, one question. When you say that the comics and the show are in for little good, I have a question about the Chrysalis arc.
Mhm.
Did you get some answers, some backup from Hasbro or parents about the Chrysalis arc, saying, well, some images are kind of scary or edgy sometimes? Or-
I've only gotten one parent ask me about it, and my generic answer to that is, kids can handle more than people think. I never go darker, and I don't think Andy ever goes darker than Jim Henson. Think of the Dark Crystal, and I tell everybody that is my bar for the darkness that a child can handle. Because the Skeksis sucking the life essence out of a podling terrified the shit out of me as a kid. But it did not scar me for life. And I still went back and watched that VHS until it wore out. Because kids like a good story, kids like to be a little scared. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, it's too dark, it's too moody. No, it's still a kid's story, it's still on a level that they can comprehend. Otherwise, I am writing Pony Princess Tea Party Dick and Jane books, and Andy would shoot me because that's no fun to draw.
Right. One of the great things about the Chrysalis arc was that, and one of the reasons why I love Chrysalis is she could go from comedic to dramatic to horrific in 3 panels. But the Cutie Mark Crusaders were there to balance her. Heather did this one panel that was just great. When I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh. And I even wondered, I was like, man, that's creepy. And she's dark lit, she's red lit, and there's green sidelight from her orb. And then the Cutie Mark Crusaders like, I have to poop. You know, and it was a great balance. I've had, I have a print of the retailer incentive cover of Chrysalis looming over them in the goop and everything, and Hasbro was even worried about that when they got the pencils. They were, it's great. When they got the inks, they were great. They got the colors. They were, that's freaking frightening. And they were like, that's scary. Let's not make it the main cover. Let's make it the retailer incentive cover. But I have kids. I mean, little bitty kids come up. I want that one. And the parents are like, well, don't you want the pretty princess? No. I want that one. Why don't you want that one? That's too pretty. I want the scary one.
Yeah. And the number of little boys that we see that love the
Oh, yeah.
Chrysalis arc. And
Let's be honest. It's fun to be scared.
yeah.
Not to be, you know, not somebody,
Coming
your
up
mom was
behind
in a
you
car
and going,
accident or whatever, that's a different kind of scary.
That was like a
But somebody
lesson
coming
in
up
an
behind you,
episode.
Yeah.
boogity boogity, you jump 3 feet, you swear at them, and then you go, I know, it was somebody else.
You got me.
Pay it forward.
Let's go find Fred. It's,
Right. It's fun, and kids can handle it a lot better than we give them credit for.
Like a lot of recent cartoons, I feel like are too afraid to like scare children and stuff. Like, and I mean, I was a kid in the '80s, and I remember like Watership Down,
that's uplifting.
Return to Oz with the Whalers. That
Oh,
still
yeah.
scares me to this day. And I mean,
Those
you
two
know, the
cartoons
stuff
were about
that's-
on the level
they
of Seven
scare
in the
you.
Mist.
Yeah. I was gonna say, let's just lead off with
Yeah.
Watership Down and get caught on some barbed wire.
And it's exciting though. It's like
Yeah.
it's nice to have some of that danger of that threats. It's like, you look at the old My Little Pony villains, like, I forgot all about the old villains from the cartoon, and I
Big
saw
giant
like
crabs.
one of the Brony documentaries lately that went into the history of the cartoon, and they were showing clips of the old, like, the Goo and like this big centaur dude or something, and I was like, wow, that was really dark. That I don't remember that scaring me when I
Let's
was a
think
kid
about,
though.
who was a Fraggle Rock fan? Yeah, awesome, the two of you. Fraggle Rock is very near and dear to my heart. Jim Henson is my, I put him on a pedestal so high I can see up his skirt. But there's a Fraggle Rock episode. You okay, Gracie?
Phillips, I'm enjoying this.
The worst part was I just got a mental image of Jim Henson in a skirt.
But there's an episode of Fraggle Rock where Red and Boober are trapped in a cave. And they sit around and talk about all the things they regret that they didn't do in their lives before they die, because they're running out of air. And that's a kid's show, and it's emotional, and going back and watching it as an adult, you're like bawling, because Boober's gonna die, and he didn't wash his socks. Oh my God. And, going, into doing children's stuff now, I would never be able to get away with that with stuff. And Jim did, and it worked, and it's one of those things that you remember as an adult. And it's sad that we're in such a helicopter parent state now that we all think that kids can't handle deep issues. Like Sesame Street didn't cover up the fact that Mr. Hooper dies. They all deal with it.
Here's something to blow your minds. Sesame Street has been around as long as me. God help me. Yeah, it's old. But when they started releasing Sesame Street on DVD, first season says on the back, for mature audiences only. Think about that.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous to me. If anyone is a big Sesame Street fan, look back to the episode where Mr. Hooper dies. He was the man who owned the general store. And they decided to write that into the show and show kids how to deal with death. And if you ever get a chance to talk to Carol Spinney, who was Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch, or was the original one, he's not doing it so much anymore, they did all of that a week after this cast member had died, and they were talking about how when everybody took off their costumes, put their puppets down, just tears streaming, because it was them dealing with their own grief, and they put that out for kids to grieve with them. And I think that's beautiful, and that's amazing, and that's a level that we don't get in children's entertainment anymore, because everybody thinks kids can't handle that. And this is Sesame Street. This is for toddlers and preschoolers. And back then it was like, yes, we need to teach these kinds of lessons. And now we're in a part where we're like, oh well, Chrysalis drains the essence out of a cute citizen of lovey-dovey land, and I think that's too dark for my 7-year-old. Bullshit. You let your kid eat high fructose corn syrup and watch Doctor Who. They can handle a goddamn comic book. But don't give them Batman.
No, don't give it that.
Okay.
I was honestly surprised that like Nickelodeon got away with the ending to the season 1 of Legend of Korra. It's like, that was serious. I was like, whoa.
How about the show ending to dinosaurs?
Yes.
Oh, David the Gnome had a really bad one too. It was like, I rewatched it as an adult. That was like.
But yeah, I've had one parent say, this might be this is a little, I think it's a little scary, and the kid was like, no, it's not. And the mother was like, well, I guess I'm right. And that was honestly the extent of parental comment. And that was at a children's event at the library that I did. And all the rest of the parents were like, she loves it, he loves it, they love it.
We don't have gang shootings and
A very special
not
episode of
that
My Little Pony.
that issue. And we don't have Batman and Catwoman having sex on a rooftop. We don't have that stuff. We have scary implied themes. We don't have stabbings. It's, and it's ridiculous. If someone says the comic is too dark, seriously, God damn you. That's my official
You know,
opinion.
we do have a lot of people come up about that panel in
Yeah.
issue 3.
And that's why I
Now,
asked.
I'm gonna ask you guys, honestly, what did you see?
He's dead. He's dead, Jim.
How
He's
do you know that?
Because it's comics, you always, like in the 90s, black ink in a splat like that
Okay.
was used for blood spatter all
So
over
tell
the
me
place.
what you saw.
It's just a black spatter of ink and the
Okay.
sound effect.
What you don't see is worse than what you do see. And that's why we did it that way. It's very, you can take away any implication you want, but as far as we're concerned, that little creature went to live on a farm upstate.
And it's why the start of Jaws is so scary, because you never really see the shark.
You know, if you've ever read Dracula, the character of Dracula is barely in the book. It is his overwhelming presence in the discussion of the other characters. He is a threat throughout, but he's not even in it. He's barely in it. So it's what you don't see.
Because
That's
Andy
worse.
at no point ever shows a dead citizen of WW land.
I don't
It
think we
never
get away with
happens.
that.
Yeah, you can get away with it.
Well, that's not,
It's trapped in a cave.
beyond that,
with
it's
one
not, it's not somewhere that we really wanna go.
No.
I mean, there is a level of dark that we wanna do, because there is a level of reality that has seeped into this kids show.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you know, like I said, there's scary where somebody comes up behind you, and there's scary, my mom is in the hospital. That's two different things, and that's the kind of area where we're probably not,
That's the issue where Fluttershy came from.
well. Great, just give away all of our plans.
Spoiler alert.
Just to shave all of her from hair.
We can take one more.
So,
All right. Andy, question for you. Specifically about a thing that I've discovered was for one of the comics, I don't remember which part it was, but I was able to find it on the internet. A little picture of Applejack being absolutely furious at something that was happening. And I used that for my Skype avatar to talk to all of the other military bronies. And I have gotten multiple comments that it is absolutely terrifying to some of the other guys. And I was wondering, how do you, when you compare with the show, which has flash animation and all these different objects that have to be manipulated to form something like that, how is it different when you're actually trying to create a physical expression and a manifestation of emotion on paper for these characters?
well, I think one of the great benefits that we have in the fact that we're doing a comic is we are not restricted by budget, we're not restricted by, you know, the limits of flash. If we can commit it to paper, we can do it. You know, I grew up watching Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera and Tex Avery and Fritz Freeling and Chuck Jones and these people who, you know, Wile E. Coyote drops something on his foot and his eyes shoot 3 feet out of his head. To me, that's kind of integral with cartoon characters, is overexpression. One limitation that we do have is we don't have the voice actors to inflict what is being said. So we have to get mood and expression and thought across in visualization. One of the most important things in a comic book is to be able to tell a story without the words. That's the artist's job. So for me, you know, doing the expressions and everything else like that, for one thing, it's a lot of fun, you know, although Pinkie Pie makes me tired. Because you can't just draw Pinkie Pie, you have to draw Pinkie Pie!
All the time.
All the time. So for me, the expressions come from, you know, Katie's words. What is the scene threatening? Is the scene frustrated? Is the scene hysterical? So that's the launch pad for the expressions. And then Heather gets to amplify the mood with lighting or specific colors, you know. But I have no idea if that answered your question.
It does.
And that's all the time we have, unfortunately.